Warning. Listening to this show may result in increased levels of inspiration, motivation, and innovation. Side effects can include the immediate urge to take massive action to build a better business and life for yourself and others. You've been warned. Welcome to Influencers Radio with your host, Jack Mize.
And welcome back to another episode of Influencers Radio. Today we are going to talk about something that I think is really a great interest to a lot of people, because I know a lot of people dream about that. That's that dream of quitting that job, getting out of the 9 to 5, get out of the corporate world, and becoming an online entrepreneur. It's a dream for a lot of people, but it's one thing to have a dream, and it's another to make that dream a reality. All right. You think about it, you're smart, you're driven, you're an expert in your field, but some reason you feel that there's something that's getting in the way. You can't quite put your finger on it, but it's preventing you from moving forward. Well, I can tell you the transition from employee to online entrepreneur definitely has its obstacles. And a lot of people think those obstacles are external, but my guest today says the biggest obstacle is probably you. She says that recognizing what your strengths are and then focusing on delegating the stuff that you might not be so good at is the key to true business growth and success. And my guest today is Anna Nelson. As a Gallup-Certified Strengths Coach, Anna works with online business owners to build a profitable and fun business. Through one-on-one coaching and team workshops, she helps others discover their superpowers and how those strengths blend well with other people's superpowers. And that is literally her superpower. So with that, Anna Nelson, welcome to Influencers Radio.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Jack. I'm excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited to have you. Whenever I hear about superpowers, it gets me excited. I guess it's just the kid in me. So I think the first thing that we probably need to do is let's define what that means. When we're talking about superpowers, what is it?
And that's a good question, especially because I think that word is overused these days. And I think the original intent for it has lost some of its meaning. But when I say we each have our own individual superpowers, what I'm talking about is how individuals are naturally wired and how someone naturally thinks, feels, and behaves, and they cannot help the way that they are acting or behaving or feeling. Like the way that they're wired affects the way and they show up in the world. And my superpower is going to be different than your superpower. And ultimately, it's like, how can we each learn to count on each other's superpower to kind of make the world a better place?
So would that be synonymous with people's strengths, especially in the workplace and in business? Does that kind of match up with those superpowers? Yeah,
exactly. And it's like the thing that you are like, doesn't everyone think this way? Doesn't everyone know this? That's what your superpower is. When you just walk into a room and you're like, oh, this, like, I could give, for my own example, it's like I make friends really, really easily anywhere I am. And so that's my, quote, superpower, able to make connections with strangers. And other people do not have that superpower.
So, it reminds me of something my grandmother used to tell me. She used to tell me, said, Jack, you're special, just like everyone else. So does everyone have some kind of superpower that or strength that they are good at that maybe they don't recognize that is beneficial to others?
Absolutely. That is, every single person who is living and breathing has something amazing inside of them. And it is true. We're all humans. So there's, we're all humans living on this earth, but each of us is wired differently, and we're wired differently because we need people to do lots of different things. There are some people who are better at being an emergency room doctor than, let's say, a nurse in a rural country clinic. Like those, they're still in the health field, but there are different skills required for that particular industry. So you are special. You aren't special, but you are special all at the same time. And it's our job to figure out, okay, what is the thing that we do that we are really good at, and how can we add value to those around us?
And I guess people have more than one, right? They can have more than one superpower?
Yeah. So I use the tool in my coaching practice when I work with business owners or solopreneurs, and it's the Clifton Strengths Assessment, and there are 34 talent themes in the assessment. And so we don't just have one superpower, it's just the combination of multiple talent themes together and how they combine and then how they kind of show up in our individual lives. And once you understand, once you get verbiage for the fact that that's how you work and that's how you think and behave, then you can start looking at areas in your life where you're like, oh yeah, I do make friends easily. Oh yeah, I love to write down to-do lists and cross things off. I love to look at data, and not assume that that's what everyone else does, because not everyone else loves data. Not everyone else loves to talk to people. Not everyone else is like us. And so we need to understand what makes us unique and how do we fit in to the world with our unique skill set.
So how do you take what your superpower is, like, for example, yours of being able to make friends easily, so that you can use that to know how to grow your business, or the best way to apply that to your business? So
little story. I used to work in downtown Minneapolis in an office building where there were small little companies, and every floor had a shared bathroom. And so one night my boss and I were walking to the parking garage, and there was a woman walking by us, and I said, "Oh, bye, Jennifer. Have a nice evening." And she said, "Bye, Anna. Have a nice evening. We'll see you tomorrow." I said, "All right, bye." And my boss looked at me and she was like, "How do you know her?" I was like, "I don't know. I guess I met her in the bathroom. She's my bathroom friend." She's like, "You met her in the bathroom?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, I see her all the time, so I talked to her." And it was one of those moments where I'm like, you don't have a bathroom friend? Like, what? And so that particular skill, making friends in a bathroom, doesn't sound great on a resume, but if I can take that and dig deeper and look at it as like, oh, I have an ability to make quick connections with strangers really fast. And I'm also able to inspire and motivate them. I can't even tell you how many times I've sat on a plane, train, automobile, you name it, where I talk to someone, we're talking, and then they're like either taking notes or they're inspired to like go do something. And so it's like, okay, I'm doing that without even trying. Where else in the world could I use those skills to then make money doing what I'm doing without even trying? And so for me, it is coaching, and I still get to connect easily with strangers because, you go to my website, you click on a link, and if I've never met you before and we're coaching, then okay, I can still get to know someone really fast, and I can get paid to do it, and I love it, and it gives me joy and energy. And so recognizing where in our daily lives we're doing things that just are so easy to us that we just think a monkey could do it, that's the superpower. And then how do you dig deeper and recognize where you can apply that in your life? And for my clients, it's they want to make money on their own. They don't want to work in corporate. So how can they start shifting from working as one of many to themselves and then slowly build up their own team?
And I think that's really one of the first big obstacles or realities that a lot of new entrepreneurs face, especially the ones we term as solopreneurs on their own, because they may have been really good at this skill that they had as an employee of a company, but that's what they were focused on all day. And, there were other employees that handled the tech stuff and the marketing and the admin and printing and all that kind of stuff. And now they're faced to where they're responsible for everything. So obviously someone like you, if someone is good at going out and meeting people and building relationship with people, probably the worst place for them to be is sitting under the hood, probably doing techie stuff in their business. Is that something kind of what you shine a light on, saying, this is what you should be doing and you probably shouldn't be spending your time doing this?
Absolutely. And that is an area in my own life where I'm like, I pay someone to like work the back end of my website, even though I know how to work the back end. I just trust someone else who loves working in the back end instead. And so that is absolutely recognizing, like, if you are going to step out on your own, okay, that's a big thing. It's like big to be brave, right? Like, it's really scary to be brave, put yourself out there, pursue a dream. And then when you're starting off, all of a sudden you are wearing 15 hats, whereas before you were at a table with 15 people, each with their own hat. Now you're wearing all of the hats and you're like, wait a minute, how do I plan? Maybe you're not strategic or analytical, or you don't know how to convince people to join your membership or whatever. But there are aspects that you're like, I love doing this. But now in business building, as with many things, there are going to be parts that you don't like doing and you're just not that good at it. So I definitely take entrepreneurs, look at like, what is it that you want? What kind of business do you want to build? And now let's see where your strengths are showing up and how your strengths are getting in the way. There's like a two-part thing. It's like your greatest strength can be your biggest weakness, but then also recognizing where their official weakness is and looking at some point, hire out. So like I have a marketing intern or a graphic, I guess she's my marketing intern. And she edits my podcasts and she creates my social media graphics. And she does a few other things that for me just take up so much time if I'm just doing it on my own, and she just can crank it out in a few minutes. And it's like, well, you know what? She's really good at it. I've gotten compliments on my social graphics and she's doing it. I didn't get compliments on my graphics when I was doing it, but I got them when she started working for me. So that would be an example of starting off small, but hiring out, even as an intern, right? You don't have to pay an intern or $10 an hour or 20, like whatever the person wants. But hiring out for the weaknesses is definitely beneficial in growing a business.
Well, I think we're probably hitting a nerve for a lot of folks right now, because I know a lot of people, especially in the online business world, that start their online business, and what often, I guess, starts as a blessing quickly becomes a curse, because they know enough, maybe they're shade tree mechanic type level of understanding. They know enough to put a website together or do some of these techie things. And so they think, okay, I'm bootstrapping this. I'm saving money by doing it. But yes, it probably is enough to get them off the ground, but it quickly becomes the curse in the sense that it gets to where they're spending way too much time on it. Do you see people that come to you that are in that phase where, that skill is probably nice to have in the beginning, but it's time to let go of it?
Oh, absolutely. Like, we all know what we're supposed to do. And, it's easy to be like, I need to do this. I need to push on through and like really, I can't afford to spend thousands of dollars on a website. It's like, yes, you can DIY it. And there are courses out there that are great. But then also, can you really afford to spend 6 months building a website instead of going out after customers? And so we know we need to do social media these days, and we need to be on Instagram and Facebook. And I had a client who hated it. She could not bring herself to schedule posts on social media. And so we talked through it. And the part that she loved is when she posted, she loved getting the DMs from people who read what she had posted, and then they would reach out to her and comment. And then once she had that dialogue going in the DMs, she loved it. She loved it. So then it was like, how do we work through the need to put social media posts out there with that holding the hands of someone who's like, I'm so uncomfortable with that. And we reframed it to be, she loves to educate people and she loves to share what she's learned. And I was like, well, what if you look at social media as a way to educate your followers and teach them what you want them to learn? And so that was a relief for her to look at it. And then eventually she could hire out like a social media manager to schedule the post consistently and just keep her on track. And then she could be in the DMs later.
Well, I know for a lot of people, I think they get it at a certain level that that's what they need to do, but it's very hard to let go. And I know a lot of people think that, well, if I do it myself, I'm saving money. That, that's an expense that I don't have I can't, afford right now, or they think they can't afford. And I've always found people that think of those types of expenses not as expenses, but rather that's not where my money is going. It's actually where my revenue comes from. It's the fact that I can farm that stuff out and really focus on what is making me money, because they had that V8 moment. There's a switch that got flipped. But what do you do to actually get someone to flip that switch and let them see that what they're doing, it's not about an expenditure. It's about an investment in being able to spend the time on their strengths.
Yeah, I think at some point people struggle long enough where they're like, okay, what's going on here? Because I'm doing all of the things and I'm not getting traction. So on some level, someone needs to be humble enough to be like, well, maybe in my case, I would say, let's start with your strengths. Let's see what's happening. And because if you are constantly working, it's like no one wants to work at a job where they're always doing the things that they don't like. And a lot of online entrepreneurs left corporate because they were doing things that they didn't like, they weren't good at, and then they wanted to do what they wanted to do. And now they find themselves in a similar position, but it's for their own business. And that can be really discouraging when you have something really great to offer the world. And so I think one is just being humble and willing to say, okay, maybe I need to become a little more self-aware of what I really bring to the table and recognize that I can't do all of the things. I can't wear all of the hats. Maybe for right now, that's what I'm doing. But eventually in order to grow, each online entrepreneur needs to have a team. You cannot do all of the things yourself. And if you can, then you're probably leaving money on the table because you are not getting paid for the thing that you are really, really good at and that people would want to pay you for. If someone wants to learn what their strengths are, I'm extremely good at it. I've been doing it since I was a kid, just like encouraging and motivating people and helping them see what they're really good at. I'm extremely good at that. What am I not good at? I am not good at planning my social media calendar. I hate it so much. I don't like editing podcasts. And if I kept sitting around in my office doing some things that I could just have even an intern do, then that just saves me so much time so I can actually go out and talk to the people who need my help versus me sitting, with the, online web graphic design tool, creating really bad graphics. That's not what's going to make me money. Making me money is going to be me going out and coaching people and changing their lives.
Well, I think a lot of people can really resonate with this because I think we all can think of times, maybe not so far back, maybe yesterday, day before, where, we found ourselves chewing our tongue, trying to do something techie, and 5 hours passes and you've got nothing done. And it's something you could have gotten done for $10 in an hour. So I definitely think, you made it very clear that, one, we all have these superpowers that we can do. We understand why it's important that we figure out what our superpowers are so we can focus on those. But I guess that naturally leads to the next question. How do we figure out really what those strengths are? Because there's some things, like I said, we're kind of good at, like maybe we kind of know how to put up a website, but it's not what we should be doing. What is it that you do? If you can kind of dig into what someone could expect. So if someone was to sit down with you and said, okay, I need to figure out what my strength is, and then I need to know how I can use that in my business? What does that process look like?
Sure. So, of course, I'm meeting with clients and asking them, okay, well, what is it that you want? And then I use the strengths assessment as a tool. And part of that is learning that there are 4 parts that make up a superpower, and it's ease, excellence, enjoyment, and energy. And so, is it easy for you to do? Is the thing that you do super easy for you to do? Again, like, oh, a monkey could do this. Is what you do almost guaranteed to have a level of excellence to it? Like, it'll be good all the time? Are you energized during and after that particular activity? And do you enjoy it? Like, could you do it over and over and over and not get tired of it? And that is what I help my clients figure out what they are good at. And then we talk through, if it's a solopreneur, we work through that and we look at where in their business are they doing things that they're not that great at, or at tweaking part of what they're focusing on for their business, or helping them see, like, this thing. I had one client, she was super amazing with ideas. She could come up with ideas so fast and so many, and it was amazing. I just loved working with her. And one of the things is that she had been told all her life, like, well, ideas are a dime a dozen. And so I help unpack things that other people have said about my clients so that they can start to see, like, actually, no, ideas are not a dime a dozen, and you could get paid a lot of money for these ideas if in front of the right people. And so that it's like recognizing the strengths, recognizing how we haven't been using them because other people have not encouraged us in that area, and then seeing, okay, how can I build my business around this, and eventually a team.
Well, I can see where that can be tremendously powerful, because I know there's a lot of people that have great ideas and then they fizzle, and because the implementation part is, I guess, not their strengths. So when you do this, these assessments, I know, following you, I see that there's different, I guess, domains, especially with the strengths assessment. There's different areas of expertise. Can you talk about those a little bit?
Sure. We are, according to Gallup, there are 4 different domains of, quote, behaving and thinking. And that would be like relationship building. So one's ability to build strong relationships, strategic thinking, what could be absorbing and analyzing information that can inform better decisions, influencing. This person can take charge and speak up, make sure others are heard. They move people to take action. And then executing, the ability to make things happen. And all 4 of those domains work really well together if people who are, I'm super strong in relationship building, and I am not as strong in strategic thinking. So as I've been building my business, I have partnered up with people in my life who are really good at strategic thinking and helping me, map things out and plan things out or think of different ideas. And so, and again, the trick is recognizing, oh, I'm really good in this particular area, but then recognizing, oh, if executing is at the bottom, your bottom domain, the ideas person definitely needs to look for someone who can get things done, and someone who can say, nope, we're not doing that idea. That is not a good one, but the other idea has possibility. Let's talk about it. So I actually have a client. He has a team of 3. He is a lawyer, and he has an online business, and I reviewed his team strengths, and he is an ideas person. He is strategic thinking, and I reviewed his team members. We had an owner meeting, and then we had a team meeting, so everyone could see how each person complemented each other. And later on, a few weeks later, his team came up with a new product line that he's now doing in his business, because he needs places for his strategic thinking and all of his ideas to go. he can't always have tons of ideas and always kind of change things in his own business because it's on a certain track. But he could charge people who need his ideas and help them out. So it's like he still gets to be totally himself, have a business that he loves, and help other people. And that all happened because each person was open to hearing about the other person on their team and recognizing how they fit together.
You know, you said something interesting here. So your client, that's a lawyer, right? Is that it's or in the legal area? So a lot of people think when they think online business, you know, they think of things, creating apps or something that's, videos or something cool. They think of the cool stuff, but there's actually a lot of people in, I guess, what you really wouldn't consider sexy industries that do really well online. Can you give us an example of some of the types of businesses, the people that you work with, that they're running, so we can kind of get a good frame of if we're on the right track with what we're doing, and if the type of online business we're doing kind of fits the model to be able to use this kind of tool?
Well, of course, as any entrepreneur knows, you need to have a niche. So my niche that I've chosen to work with is online entrepreneurs. But this assessment works for anyone. I have a few friends whose teenagers I'll be coaching in a few weeks, and I've coached a couple couples to see how they blend together. But for me, the clients that I tend to work with are people who have wanted to have their own online business. It's usually kind of sharing some sort of expertise that they have already or educating. So it's like coaching, consulting, service-based online entrepreneurs. That's what I'm focusing on right now. And those entrepreneurs who have a team as well.
And if they don't have a team, you also work with Solarpreneurs too, correct? Do you help them?
Correct.
Obviously, can figure out what members of the team they have, because I know a lot of people that have started online businesses and they think, oh, I need a team, but they weren't exactly good at selecting that team or understanding the skills that team needs. Is that something that you do with those businesses? Is not just assess them, but assess, well, and here's the other components, the other areas of expertise that you need to fill out your organization, even if it's a small one, to be successful?
Absolutely. And I think, at least for me, I hope that at some point I'll have a bigger team supporting me. But in the meantime, it's me and my marketing intern. But just like if you came to me and you said, hey, I'm interested in starting business online, it's just me right now. Yes, let's start there, because you're the one who's going to be the face and name of your company. Let's see how you want to show up in the world, and what do you love to help people with, and what are you good at? And then when it comes to the point where you are able to hire out, even if it's part-time, who are you looking for? And it's not going to be someone who looks like you. It is going to be someone who might be the exact opposite of you. Because if you love talking to people but hate looking at numbers, then you're going to need to find someone who loves looking at numbers, and they're not going to behave or think the same way that you do, but that's okay. But that's the person you need on your team. And even the lawyer whose team I worked with, they ended up hiring a fourth employee who had stronger strategic skills, like analytical skills, because the rest of the team didn't have those skills. So he could see right away, oh, there's a hole in these 4 domains, and now I'm going to hire for that hole.
Well, this is really fascinating, because right now I'm thinking that the extroverts that are listening, right? Those people that are out there, they're outgoing, they're social, they're good at the building relationships. I think that it's easy for them right now to start putting these pieces of this puzzle together. So let's take the opposite approach. What about the person that is the technical person? Let's say a person that maybe that they are good at building websites, right? That's their strength. How would they go about being able to spend the time on their strength and have other people do the other parts of the business that maybe they're not good at, or they're more, they're more introverted? Is it still possible for them to run their own online business while being that tactician?
Absolutely. My own brother he has always wanted a job where he didn't have to talk to anybody. And so he has his own online business and he does have a team, but he doesn't have to talk to any customers, and he has set it up that way. Whereas I'm the complete opposite, where I'm like, I want to talk to customers, and how can I do that? And so if someone isn't as social and they have a harder time talking, it doesn't mean that they aren't able. Like, I've talked to so many people who are really shy, or they're introverts, or they just, talking to people is just not their thing. But we just talk about, okay, well, where in your life, how have you made friends in the past? Like, how do you make human connection? Okay, how could we apply that in your life? And there are definitely ways to work around that and manage it, because just like I might like talking to people, at some point my website has to get built. So I can't just always be talking to people. And I think in our day and age, it's so easy to build a business because we have these amazing tools at our disposal. So if you are really shy, some people who are really shy are really great at showing up on social media. I actually hate showing up on social media because I prefer to be like one-on-one or on Zoom calls instead. And so it's just kind of recognizing, where do you love showing up, and then how can you manage the areas that you don't? And so that's what it is for all of us. We all have our tools, and they can all be used in helpful ways to help others. It's just understanding it. And I think the strengths assessment is so great at giving verbiage and making it extremely clear for people, like, this is who I am, this is what I'm good at, and now how do I build a life around that?
Well, I think that probably what's equally as important is having someone like you that's, you're clearly very intuitive, and a quick read of people, I think. And to have someone be able to interpret that data also from these types of assessments. And I think it's great news that you could be, I guess, if I was going to put it in simple terms, a flower or a mushroom and still be able to thrive. And the one thing that I really want to point out, and on your side, I know you have a saying on there: stop trying to be like all the gurus, be who you were meant to be. So this isn't something a lot of people think when they go into online business is, I've got to have this persona, or I have to fit into this mold, or I have to be like this person. That's actually counter to what you are helping people do, that you're helping them to build up who they naturally are to be successful, correct? Is that you're saying that people don't have to try to become someone else or create some kind of persona in order to have a successful online business. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. And obviously it's great to be inspired by people who have gone before us and who are successful and doing things, but we are so unique and so individual. And my life is going to come into contact with people who you will never meet, and vice versa. And I think, like, in high school and elementary school, we all take the same classes. We are all graded on the same subjects. But there are people who do not get good grades in those subjects, myself being one of them. I got like C's, D's, and 1 F in math over my high school career. And I never thought that I was good at anything. I thought I was stupid and that I really wouldn't ever have a good paying job. And it wasn't until many years later, like even as recent as a few years ago, and I had taken the strengths assessment during the financial crisis back in 2010. And because I lived out in Boston, I was in financial services. My sister bought the assessment for me, and I took it, and I read the results. I'm like, okay, I didn't know what to do with it. And 10 years later, I had a coach review them with me. We talked about it for a few hours, and I just sat there like, everything I've never been told that I'm good at is literally what I'm good at. She was like, yes. And it was the first time where I could appreciate my ability to make friends in the bathroom, my ability to make a plan and or pursue a dream, or to inspire people or include people, like all of the things that I'm really good at. And that was only a few years ago. And so it's like going to the doctor's office. They can print up what your cholesterol is, but does that number really mean anything until someone actually walks you through and gives you a description and explanation for it? Probably not, unless you yourself are also a doctor. So it's a little bit like that. And I think we underestimate how powerful becoming self-aware in a safe space can be, and how life-changing it can be as well.
Yeah, that really is. And I think, like I said early on, so many people fall into that trap of here's what I'm really good at and I want to make a business of it, but they just don't have the tools to make a business of it. So I can see now, I mean, it's really clear if someone is a fitness coach, well, then you need to understand what your strengths are so you can be that fitness coach, and then get the people around you that can handle the other stuff to make you a successful fitness coach. If you make good hot sauce, get people to around you that can let you be really good at hot sauce. And I can see where that's probably makes a big difference, and actually probably a difference between success and failure. And
not only is knowing what sort of team to build around you, but understanding what you, the business owner, bring to the table. Why are you drawn to being a fitness coach? What is it about fitness that you love? What is it about seeing changes in your clients that you love? Because when you start to really dig deep and you can understand that, you can ratchet up your business even a few degrees, because now you know how to explain how you might be different than another fitness coach. And you can also then look for the clients that would fit your strengths better than someone else. And when I was first starting out as a coach, for a while, I thought that I was going to help coach women going post-divorce process. And because my heart goes out to them, and I was like, oh my goodness, I could completely help them change their lives. But it was so emotionally draining for me that I'd be crying every day. It just was so draining. And recognizing for me, if I help, in this case, online entrepreneurs, these are people who are smart and driven. They already are doing the work, but they want to make things better. They want to keep moving forward, but they might be a little bit stuck. So I excel at that. That's my number one strength. I'm a maximizer. I like to make good things better, and I'm extremely good at it. Whereas solving problems or I could never be a therapist because I would just go berserk. But someone else would love that, right? We need people who are really good at therapy and helping people walk along life with someone whose life is not in a good spot. And so that, knowing that, gave me permission to be like, you know what? I tried out this niche. I'm actually pivoting, and I'm going to pursue another niche.
That's incredible. And I think that kind of flexibility, and people realize that their paths can change over time, is important. That you don't, if something's not working, it's important to recognize that and to make that shift. And I bet, you probably help some people recognize that too. Do you ever have people that come to you and you just politely say, it really doesn't sound like you enjoy what you're doing?
Oh yeah. I have friend slash client who she had started off with she was doing gluten-free baking and coming up with an online course where it was baking, and she would do all these tutorials and videos, and it was just a huge amount of work for her. And she was just always emotionally drained. She just was like, it was super stressful. And offhandedly, I had said a few things to her to be like, well, I know what your strengths are. And I just asked a few questions, and she literally changed her entire business model. And now she builds websites for people and sales pages, like completely different shifts. But the desire to have an online business is still there, right? It's still an online business, but the niche and the product slash service is completely different and way more conducive to her personality.
That's just phenomenal and life-changing for a lot of people. And this is one of the reasons I do consider you, an influencer, and because it really is changing lives, and when people are able to recognize that, and so sometimes and probably quite often it takes someone like you to be able to jolt people into seeing that. So how can people find out more about Anna Nelson and how to get involved with your process?
Sure. They can find me on my website, AnnaYNelson.com, AnnaYNelson.com. And if your listeners want to go to AnnaYNelson.com/superpower, they can get my a PDF titled "Why Understanding Your Superpower is the Only Way to Build an Online Business You Love." And on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn, also at Anna Y. Nelson. And I also have my own podcast called The Anna Nelson Show.
Anna, I got to thank you for coming on and sharing this information, because it really is it's something that can make a huge difference in people's business, especially when they're in that critical and oftentimes fragile phase of their business when they're growing and maybe they've kind of hit that wall of what they can do. And the answer isn't to just scrub harder. They've got to figure out how to get help or offload some of this stuff. And I can see why, when somebody figures that out, it's something that can actually be a pretty strong trajectory for their business pretty quickly, to make that shift. So I definitely want to thank you for coming on, sharing this information. I think it's going to make a big difference, inspire a lot of people, and motivate a lot of people. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And that was I like that. Don't just scrub harder. Like it takes a certain level of humility to be like, you know what, this isn't working. What else can I do? So, and I like working with those people who are open-minded about looking at themselves.
Yeah, I think probably a lot of people enjoy working with you as well. You definitely have a unique perspective, and like I said, a quick study and intuition that I think is definitely part of your superpower. So,
thank you.
All right, folks. Until next time on Influencers Radio, remember, you are the only real game changer.
You've been listening to Influencers Radio. To get all past shows and updates on future shows, visit influencersradio.com today.